Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. And a big piece of old rusty iron. Now I am getting older and I'm slowly realizing that before I know it I will be an old man. And by then I would need, one of those walker things. But I won't want that, so I have decided to build a 2.1 diesel powered walker for once I get old, to just get a bit of speed on when I go into the shops to buy beers and stuff. No, this is maybe going to be the new engine on Dorris, the diesel Opel. If you have seen the previous video on diesel Dorris, it's an old 74 Opel with a 2.1 diesel engine that runs pretty nice, but it's using a lot of oil. So Jakob, who owns it, came by and dropped off this engine, which is an Opel engine. Well, no, it's not really. This is actually from a Bedford, but it is the same engine. There are some small parts that needs to be changed. But he also found this awesome little scaffolding thing. It's an engine stand that is actually made for this engine. It got testing panels and starter buttons and all that, and it just fits. What he wanted me to do is to test the engine, find out if it's worth the time to put this engine in Dorris. What I can do is I can assess it visually, maybe take off the valve cover and check all that. Then I should be able to make a compression test on this stand as well. I should even be able to start the engine up and see how much blow-by this engine got, because that's the main problem on the old engine. Massive amount of blow-by, and I think that's the main cause of the oil usage. But these engines, it turns out that they are not really that good, and they are pretty easy to wear out. And yes, I know diesel engines are very often very robust and very capable of a long life, but apparently not these engines. These are petrol engines converted to diesel pretty much, and it's not the best recipe. But let's see if we can find out anything about this engine and see if we can make it worthwhile to put in Dorris. Finding this thingy for the engine is pretty amazing, because I never knew these existed even. So finding a test bench for this exact engine is pretty amazing. We got oil pressure, we got coolant temperature sensor, preheater and starter button, and a throttle thingy here. I gotta admit that I haven't really figured out how that is supposed to be fitted though, but it doesn't matter, I can do that with my hand. It is also coming with a small fuel tank, no radiator, so what I'm thinking of doing is maybe starting it up without the radiator, because that's possible. You just don't want to run it for long. But for real testing, the blow-by for instance, it would be nice to get the engine hot. So I am just planning on using another radiator for something else and put on, if we go that far even, because firstly, it would be nice to find out if this engine spins, because there's one thing, actually two things that are worrying me a lot on this engine, because I don't know how long this engine has been stored, and I don't know under which circumstances it has been stored. But what I don't like to see is this glow plug, and this glow plug in there is missing. The rest of them are there, but that introduces air, and air got water in it, and that means that I'm worried that those two are getting rust in there. So the engine could actually be seized from that. What size is that? Oh, it's that one. That was easy, because I want to try to spin the engine over. And I'm going to do that on the bolt on the crankshaft pulley. Yeah, it is spinning. That's a good sign. Oh, wait a second. Maybe that's not a good sign. What happened there? Did the bolt snap or whatever? Oh, it just was possible to tighten up a bit more. but the engine is completely stuck now. Can I go the other way? It's really weird that I can undo this bolt a little bit. Anyway, that's not the most worrying thing. What is going on with the engine right there? It gets completely stuck right there. I think we got some rust issues. This is this is not how I was hoping this was going to turn out, but something is wrong in this engine. It could be a rusty edge from standing still for a long time. Maybe I can make it loosen up by putting some oil in there and letting it soak and then turn it over. But it's not a good beginning if you want a new engine in a car that is not going to burn oil, to have a semi-stock engine from the beginning. Firstly, I want to take a look at the intake. Nice tiny oil, not oil, but air filters. I'm not really sure what's going on here. I don't like the fact that these are way blacker than these. Maybe we have a leaking valve pushing oil through. That's part of the engine on one of these two cylinders. I don't know. But it's a bit weird that these are this black and these are this light. I don't like the look of that either, because that means that moisture has gotten in here. But I'm going to try to take my inspection camera and see if I can look into there and see anything. Yeah, I do not like the look of this valve. There has been water in this part of the engine. Let's test the other ones. Now, this one is just fine. You can see the valve down there looking clean and nice. I hope you can see it. Clean and nice valve, but on this one it's I actually have a feeling that it could be stuck from the valve being stuck in this area. That would not surprise me. I'm just going to take this piece of it off just to get better access. I'm not going to be able to fix this by removing stuff, but maybe I can see a bit more. Wonder where all that water came from. It actually looks like it came from this, that is the valve cover. So is it just condensation? Take a look at the take a look at the inside of this valve or intake. I am interested in finding out if it actually moves if I spin the engine over, because I don't think it is. I think the engine is stuck because of that valve right there. It's not gonna happen, it's not moving. I've decided to just try to put all power to attempt to turn the engine. I wouldn't do that before because I risked damaging the thread on the crankshaft, but I don't think there is much to lose right now. Oh yeah, it's actually moving now. Oh, it's not sounding very nice though. Okay, so I don't think the piston was hitting it. I just think the valve train was stuck. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe we can actually use this engine, but I still don't like this, because chances are that it's rusty down there in the bore as well. But what about maybe taking off the exhaust manifold just to see if we can see anything on the outlet? That could be a bit fun. It's pretty soddy. Nothing really much to say about this, but well, there is actually something to say. On the exhaust outlet on the rusty cylinder, it's moldy, so we have had moisture all the way through that barrel. I'm not sure if I can see anything if I remove the injectors, but I think I will try to do that. But before going that deep, I'm just going to take off the valve cover. I'm going to take off the the fuel lines so I can get to the injector. I'm going to try to remove an injector to see if I can see into the bore. I don't think I will be able to, but I will try anyway. And if not, then I'm going to remove the cylinder head, because I think there is no coming around the fact that it's needed to inspect it. I'm just about to say that diesel oil was coming out of this, but this is not diesel oil. This is petroleum, or very old diesel oil. Maybe smells like that, but this is not normal diesel oil, that's for sure. But don't ask me why, but this got dual diesel filter, which is pretty cool. But I have no idea why it got that. Now I've got room to remove the rest of them. There we go. And what I want to check is that if the water went into the cylinder, we will have rusty walls. And yeah, it could work anyway, and it could run. It's a diesel engine, so it can take some punishment, but chances are that it will be using just as much, maybe even more oil than the engine in Dorris currently. Remember, the engine is running nicely in Dorris. It's just burning a lot of oil. There we go. It's out. And I seriously doubt we'll be able to see anything down there. No, we're just looking into the pre-chamber. I was expecting that. I was just hoping that maybe it was a bit different than this, but I don't believe it actually can be any different than that. So we're going to have to pull the head on this one. Oh! And remove the head. Oh, there's the chain, of course. How could I forget the chain? It is the next day, and I am proceeding on tearing down this engine. I've put the engine on top dead center, I think, on the marks at least. It's hard to really figure out how the marks are supposed to work, but at least I know how to put it back like this, and then I can retime it, to be honest. But let's undo the chain tensioner. Ooh. Wow, this engine has had a rough life. I'm gonna bring you in, but the cams on this engine is something else. Because take a look at the amount of wear on the cams. Especially right there. Can you see the edge out there? That's not too good. If I can loosen up this, then I don't think it's necessary to remove the cam gear altogether. Then I can put this down on the chain guard down there. So I can just let it hang right there. Hopefully I can get it back on. If not, I will have to remove the side cover. But now I can get to all the top bolts, so I'm just going to undo them so we can remove the cylinder head. Like that. Oh, the smell when you undo these bolts is something else. Yeah. Oh, this is heavy. Whoa. Oh. Another good reason to take off. Yeah, I can already see now that we have troubles on this engine. This was the bad one. Now I've completely lost. This was the bad one, the one with water and the stock valve. This one down here is not looking too good either, but looks a bit burned over here. But I'm not sure that anything was wrong with that actually. But the look of this piston is not very nice. Could be cleaned up, but it's more the barrel itself that I'm worried about. Yeah, I'm gonna have to spin this engine. That means that the timing will be off, and that means that I will most likely have to take off the chain cover to time it, but I need to lower down this to see the walls because it looks bad. This one looks all right. Oh, what an amazing amount of edge that this got though. I think this engine is really, really, really worn. This is the one that I really don't like. It's the one with the rusty valve. I'm looking forward to actually seeing the actual walls on the barrel itself, but it's not looking too good. This one is not as bad, but still not the best. It's a funny looking valve. I've seen that symbol before. Anyway, this is the good cylinders, and as you can see, they look pretty all right, but they do have some wear marks and they are quite polished. And then there is that edge, and that will be hard to show, I think, but it's really, really a steep edge right there. But let's try to turn the engine a bit to just see what that tells us. At this point, I'm sure that this engine is not worth to rebuild. Or maybe it's worth rebuilding, but it will need a complete rebuild. That's what I mean. It's not usable in the current state. So I'm not that worried about turning this, but this will of course make it more difficult if I'm going to put it back together, because I will have to remove the chain. Or maybe not actually. But it's difficult to turn still, which is a bit surprising. I'm gonna turn the other way. It is slightly stuck right there with the edge, which is not a big surprise actually. Yeah, there we go. Now we can see all the cylinders and the walls. So, not looking too good, is it? This one is not that bad though, but still, it's not looking good. And then there is that edge, which it's gotta be from wear. Also, the completely eaten up camshaft tells me a story of a neglected or very high mileage engine. I think I'm saying this quite a lot, but I am no expert in this. I am an amateur that has done a lot of different stuff with old cars. So I got some experience, but not necessarily in specific things. And I know for a fact that some highly qualified diesel mechanics are looking at this video, and it almost makes me nervous just making it. But I think this engine will need a complete rebuild before it's good to go, and that will mean, because of that wear, it will have to go up a size, one oversize, maybe even two. And that just doesn't make sense to do, because that would be the same as the other engine in Dorris that we know works fine. So rebuilding this wouldn't really make sense in my book. And remember, the point of all this is that Jakob wants the Dorris to not use so much oil. It got no running issues. It's driving just fine. It's just the oil usage that is really bad. And this engine won't be any better at that. I'm sure of it. And on the cylinder head, we got that rusty one, then 2 good ones, and then another rusty one. I'm pretty sure a massive valve job is needed on this one at least. That's the bad one. The other one doesn't look too bad. I think that could be cleaned up. Other than that, I don't see anything. It's cracked in the chamber insets, I think they are called. But that's pretty normal on diesels. I'm not that worried about that. There doesn't seem to be any cracks between the cylinders. That's nice, because that can be very annoying. Not the cylinders, between the valves, I mean. But yeah, of course it could be fixed, this head, but I'm pretty sure it needs new valve guides on the rusty ones and new valve seats most likely. So yeah, that would be a big job. I am trying to show you the size of that lip, but it is a bit difficult to film, but I think you can actually visually see the lip. And if you can see a lip on a bore, I would say that's a bit excessive. It's really a lot. It's so much that I'm almost puzzled about it, because it must have run so badly with that. But I cannot see any reason why that would be supposed to be like that, because it would be incredibly difficult to bore, to machine. So it must be from rare. It's just a bit much. But I'm gonna do one last thing. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to put in the same amount of diesel in all 4 cylinders. Firstly, I'm just going to level them out so all the pistons are level. Then I'm going to put the same amount in, wait 15 minutes and see how much is left. That will tell me how much diesel will go past the rings and into the oil down there, and give an indication of the amount of blow-by and oil usage, just for the fun of it. And welcome back to Science Garage. Let's decide to put in, I can't read it, but the important bit is I'm just going to stop at the same. So this amount in all of them, actually it doesn't really matter if it's the same amount. It's just a matter of seeing if it stays there. But if I put the same amount, then I would have an indication of if one is better than the other or something like that. But this is just another way of doing a leak down test or compression test when the engine is actually working, to get an indication on the engine health when it comes to the piston rings and sealing and all that. And then let's try to be very fancy and do a time lapse. And we're gonna stop the time lapse here. It's been just about 11 minutes. And much to my surprise, we still got oil in this one, and this one. But this one is gone. That was one of the good looking ones. The bad ones hasn't lost that much, I think. It's difficult to say because I haven't really thought of a way of measuring that, but I'm gonna try anyway. But yeah, this one is not good, that's for sure. Yeah, of course, that could maybe become better when you run it, but it's just a fun test to indicate. But now I'm gonna see how much I can take out of the other ones. I won't be able to take it all out, but I'm gonna put it down in the indentation for the valves, so I can get as much as possible out. Well, by doing this, I can stop it right there and then see. So when this one is at 60, this one is showing 34, I'd say. Let's try the next one. And then push this one up to 60 like before. That's right there. That is showing 40. This is of course upside down, so that will mean this is way less than the other one. Yeah, it would make much more sense to just put the air out of it so I could get a proper reading. This one is worse. This is a horrible way that I decided to measure it. Stick with me. And then let's put this to 60, like that. And it's showing 35. So around 35 on this one. I think it was 34 maybe. 35, and this one was at 40. But it's upside down, all the things. So this one is the worst one. These are the same. So the bad ones, the bad looking ones, are actually the best ones when it comes to this leak down test thing I have tried to do. But I think actually all that rust and crap is sealing it up at the moment. That will of course not keep on sealing. And this one lost all the diesel oil all by itself within 10 minutes. Oh, and one last thing. Remember, I don't know if it's featured in the video, but I was struggling to find out what was going on with this crank pulley bolt, because it was possible to turn it a little bit from side to side even though it was completely tight. That was weird. Then it turns out that this bolt is snapped. You can see the rest of it in there. So it is not clamping as much as it is supposed to, and fixing that is very difficult. Maybe you could just drill it out and put a helicoil in, but this is just another thing wrong with this engine. I really don't think it's a good idea to use this engine, Jakob. I'm sorry to say. This will be all for now. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.